To the Central African Republic now, where polls have opened, allowing residents to choose a new president and parliament. Incumbent President Faustin Archange Touadera is seeking a second term in office. There have been fears of escalating violence as the government tries to hold off a rebel advance on the capital, Bangui, as armed groups hostile to Touadera have stepped up attacks since the Constitutional Court rejected several candidates earlier this month. The head of the United Nations mission in the Central African Republic says the mission is determined to help people exercise their right to vote in the country's presidential and legislative elections.
From the United Nations side, we have received 300 additional peacekeepers from our mission in southern Sudan to strengthen the security measures in Central African Republic. We are determined that the Central African population have the right to vote.
Well, let's cross over now to Koffi Kouakou. He's an African analyst and senior research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Koffi, thank you for joining us on Africa Live. Now, the Central African Republic elections are going ahead despite instability in the country. What's your take, particularly on the legitimacy of the process?
Good day. I think the legitimacy of the process will be sort of very mixed. It won't be trusted enough, especially by the opposition leaders who are screaming out loud to say that this won't be a legitimate process. In part, they're right, because almost 2/3 of the country is under their control. And one of the key person, the key man, Francois Bozize, has been sort of written off from the list of the candidate. So that's very, very important. However, on the other side, internationally, the UN is supporting those elections. The UN has done everything almost to make sure that these elections take place. But Bangui is probably the only place that seems to be at peace and organized and a bit stable. The rest of the country is not. And that makes it difficult for a full legitimacy of these elections.
So the UN wants to ensure that the election takes place, and it does say it is determined to help C.A.R. people exercise their right to vote in the presidential and legislative elections. How important are these elections to the C.A.R. and its people against the background of such instability?
What it does is it gives the impression of the illusion of a democratic approach to electing, key leaders of this country. But we know, history, the events, have shown to us that the C.A.R. has been unstable. The cycle of insecurity and instability and changes and coups there have been so many of them, about 5 and more, that it is difficult to see elections as, if you want, something that's going to fix, as a panacea to fix all the problems. There are a lot more bigger problems. The elections, even after the election, today is Sunday, and even if Touadera is proclaimed the president, the situation on the ground will not change suddenly or in the short term, let alone even in the medium term, perhaps in the long term. But there are geopolitical issues here involved. There are 3 elements to this. The first one, of course, is national, where you have actors vying up to take power, with Touadera in the opposition and Francois Bozize behind it. And then you have the regional leaders you have, for example, Rwanda now involved in this, and of course Burundi, and then the other international element, the third leg, is the international element, MINUSCA with the UN, but of course now with Russia involved in it to help secure Bangui, and then of course Touadera. And hopefully with this kind of security, perhaps things will change a bit, but in the short and medium term, I don't see how this is going to solve the problem. These elections are just a surface of something much bigger. However, it is my hope that Touadera, with his name as Archange, which means archangel, will be able to call the divine gods an archangel to help him. But I don't see any peace in the next short or medium term taking place.
All right, Koffi Kouakou joining us there from Johannesburg. Thank you.